The dinner table wasn't about food tonight. It was a battlefield. The clink of silverware, the faint aroma of roasted chicken, none of it mattered once my father, Charles Henderson, slid a crisp stack of papers across the table toward me. "Your sister will take 40% of your business," he declared, his voice sharp, final, like a judge handing down a sentence. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us, where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos? And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us, what would you do in this situation? Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. My stepmother Elaine's lips curled into a satisfied smirk. My sister Vanessa leaned back with her glass of wine, tapping the rim like she'd already won. I didn't flinch. Instead, I placed my napkin on the table with deliberate calm and pulled out a sleek black folder from my bag. I opened it slowly, every movement precise, controlled, like I'd been waiting for this very moment. "Page 7, I said firmly, sliding it toward my father. Charles frowned, confused. He picked up his fork, then froze. It slipped from his hand, clattering onto the porcelain plate with a sound that made everyone at the table jolt. His eyes darted across the lines of legal text. The confidence drained from his face. "What is this?" he muttered, his voice cracking ever so slightly. I leaned forward, my gaze locked on him. "It's the part you thought I'd forget, Dad. But I didn't. 2 years ago, when your investment collapsed and I stepped in to bail you out, you signed over controlling rights. Page 7 is the transfer of authority." Elaine's smirk faltered. Vanessa's wineglass trembled slightly in her grip. "You—" Charles stammered, pointing a trembling finger at me. "You tried to gut me," I cut him off, my voice low, cutting like steel. "You thought I wouldn't notice. You thought I'd sit here, smile, and sign my life away for Vanessa's benefit? But I came prepared," Vanessa scoffed, rolling her eyes. "You're being ridiculous, Brooke. Dad's just trying to keep the family united. You wouldn't understand sacrifice." My laugh was bitter. "Sacrifice? I've given everything for this family. While you were off burning through credit cards, I was building something from the ground up. And you think you're entitled to it because Dad says so?" The chandelier above us seemed to sway with the tension. My father tried to regain his composure, slamming his palm on the table. "You will sign it. That business exists because of this family. Vanessa has earned her share." I slammed my own hand down harder. The glasses rattled, water spilled across the tablecloth. My eyes burned with fury. "No, Dad," I hissed. "That business exists because of me. And thanks to page 7, it's mine. All of it." The silence that followed was deafening. My father's face twisted with rage, my stepmother's jaw tightened, and Vanessa's smugness collapsed into unease. For the first time, they saw me not as the daughter they could control, but as the storm that would break everything they thought they owned. And this was only the beginning. Vanessa slammed her wineglass down so hard the stem cracked. "You think you're clever, Brooke?" She spat, her voice sharp, cutting through the silence. "All these legal games, you're pathetic. Without Dad, you wouldn't have a dime. You've been writing his name since day one." Her words stung like acid, but I didn't flinch. I leaned back in my chair, calm on the surface while my pulse thundered in my ears. "You want to talk about writing names?" I fired back. "Every promotion you brag about, every credit line you've drained, it was handed to you. I built my business alone. I fought for contracts Dad never even believed I could land. You don't get to rewrite my story just because you're jealous." Elaine jumped in quickly, her syrupy voice dripping with manipulation. "Girls, this is family. Don't tear each other apart. Brooke, you're letting pride blind you. Vanessa only wants what's fair." I snapped my head toward her. "Fair?" My voice cracked with fury. Fair would have been supporting me when I worked 16-hour days to get this company off the ground. Fair would have been Dad showing up once, just once, to say he was proud. Instead, you've all sat back waiting for me to succeed just so you could pick me clean. Charles's face darkened, veins bulging at his temple. "Enough! You will not speak to your stepmother that way. You've always been ungrateful, Brooke. You think a few contracts and late nights make you special? Without this family's name, you're nothing." I slammed my fist against the table, silverware rattling, glasses trembling. You're wrong, Dad. Without me, you're nothing. You wouldn't even have this house if I hadn't covered your debts 2 years ago. I've carried this family while you pretended to be king. The room went silent. Even Vanessa's sharp tongue froze at that. Charles's eyes flickered with something I'd never seen before: fear. But then, like a cornered animal, he bared his teeth. You think you can turn this against me? I raised you. I gave you everything. I leaned forward, my voice ice cold. You raised me to be your shield, not your daughter. You gave me burdens, not gifts. And you thought I'd stay quiet. But I'm done being quiet. Vanessa pushed back her chair violently, the screech of wood against marble making everyone jump. You're a selfish brat, Brooke. You don't care about family. All you care about is power. I stood too, meeting her glare head on. Power? No. I care about respect. Something you've never earned and Dad's never given. If that makes me selfish, fine. But I'd rather be selfish than spineless. Her face twisted in rage, but her eyes betrayed her, fear creeping in around the edges. She wasn't used to me standing my ground. Elaine's hand shot out, gripping Charles's arm. Her voice was calm, calculated. Charles, don't let her bait you. She's bluffing. That contract can't be ironclad. We can challenge it. I slid another document from my folder and dropped it onto the table with a slap. Already filed. Court stamped and notarized. Every loophole closed. Every clause airtight. Try to challenge me. You'll lose before you start. Elaine's mask cracked for the first time. Her polished composure slipped into a snarl. You conniving little... Careful, I warned, my voice deadly quiet. Say what you really think. Let Dad hear it out loud. Charles rubbed his temples, his authority slipping through his fingers. His voice was quieter now, broken. Why would you do this, Brooke? We're family. I looked at him, my chest tight, emotions boiling beneath the rage. Because, Dad, family doesn't corner you at dinner with contracts meant to gut your life's work. Family doesn't use your success as their retirement plan. You crossed the line, not me. For the first time in years, he had no words. His fork still lay forgotten on the floor. The king had no throne, and he knew it. Vanessa sank back into her chair, pale now, her voice shaky. This isn't over. I leaned closer, my eyes burning into hers. It already is. The air around the table was suffocating, heavy with defeat and fury. The balance of power had shifted, and they couldn't stand it. Dinner was ruined. But the war? The war had just begun. The silence after my last words was suffocating. Vanessa sat frozen, her confidence crumbling, while Elaine whispered furiously into my father's ear. Charles's hands trembled as he pushed his plate away, his authority dissolving like ashes in water. But I wasn't leaving them space to recover. I gathered my folder, tucked it under my arm, and stood tall. Dinner's over, I said firmly. You don't walk away from this table, Charles snapped suddenly, his voice rising with the last shred of power he thought he had. I turned slowly, my gaze cold. No, Dad, I don't walk away from you. I walk away from your control. There's a difference. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. He sat there, red-faced and speechless, while Elaine's manicured nails dug crescents into his arm. I walked out of the dining room, but I wasn't naive. I knew they wouldn't just accept defeat. The Hendersons never surrendered. They plotted, and I was right. The next morning, I arrived at my office downtown, sunlight glinting off the glass windows of the high-rise. My assistant, Lauren, rushed to meet me at the elevator, her face pale. Brooke, you need to see this. She thrust a tablet into my hands. My stomach twisted as I read the headlines. Henderson family rift. Daughter accused of manipulating father's signature. Already? I muttered under my breath. Lauren nodded grimly. Your father and stepmother went public this morning. They're claiming you tricked him into signing those documents 2 years ago. Vanessa gave interviews too, said you're trying to destroy the family for greed. I clenched the tablet so tightly my knuckles whitened. My chest burned, fury igniting again. They were faster than I expected, but not smarter. Schedule a press conference for this afternoon, I ordered, my voice sharp. If they want a war in the public eye, they'll get it. But on my terms, Lauren hesitated. Are you sure? They're your family. I met her gaze, steady and unflinching. They stopped being family the moment they tried to steal everything I worked for. Now they're opponents, and I don't lose to opponents. By noon, the lobby of my office was swarming with cameras and reporters. Flashbulbs popped, microphones thrust forward, voices shouted questions. Brooke, did you manipulate your father? Are you cutting your sister out of the business? Is this about money or revenge? I stepped up to the podium, my pulse racing but my face calm, polished, unshakable. Good afternoon, I began, my voice carrying over the crowd. I see my father, stepmother, and sister have decided to air private matters in public. Since they've chosen this path, I'll address it openly. I held up a copy of the signed contract, its pages stamped and sealed. 2 years ago, when my father's investments collapsed, I stepped in with my own money. In return, he transferred controlling interest of my business to me. This was no trick. This was survival for him. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The reporters scribbled furiously. I didn't take advantage, I continued, my tone sharp with conviction. I gave him a lifeline. And now, because they can't stomach the fact that I've succeeded without bowing to them, they're trying to rewrite history. Questions erupted, but I raised my hand, silencing them. I built this business from the ground up. No handouts, no shortcuts, no lies. And unlike them, I don't hide behind manipulation or smear campaigns. The truth is here, black and white. Page 7. The press conference ended with flashing cameras, my words echoing through the room like fire. That night, I returned home, exhausted but resolute. I found a message waiting, Charles's voice on my answering machine, brittle and sharp. You think you've won, Brooke? You humiliated me in front of the world. But you'll regret this. We are still your family, and family doesn't forget. I hit delete without hesitation. His threats no longer had teeth, but then the phone rang again. It was Vanessa. Her voice trembled, raw and unsteady. You ruined everything. Do you know what people are saying about me now? That I'm a spoiled brat living off your scraps. I hate you for this. I'll never forgive you. I closed my eyes, steadying my breath. You don't have to forgive me, Vanessa. But one day you'll realize I didn't ruin you. You ruined yourself. I just stopped carrying the weight. The line went dead. I sat in the silence of my apartment, the city lights glowing through the window. My hands shook, not from fear but from release. For the first time, the power wasn't theirs. It was mine, and deep down I knew they would strike again. But I was ready, because storms don't fear thunder. They create it. The call from Vanessa still echoed in my mind the next morning, but I didn't have time to dwell. My office was buzzing, reporters calling nonstop, investors demanding reassurance. I stood at the window of my corner office, watching the city hum below me, when Lauren rushed in, breathless. Brooke, you need to see this. She handed me another tablet. On the screen was a live broadcast. Charles and Elaine, sitting stiffly in their living room, with Vanessa perched at their side. Cameras crowded the space as my father spoke. My daughter, Brooke, has manipulated this family. She preyed on us during hard times. We will be pursuing legal action to regain what is rightfully ours. Vanessa leaned in, her voice dripping with venom. She betrayed her own blood. That's not strength. That's cruelty. The cameras panned to Elaine, who dabbed at imaginary tears. We only wanted unity. Instead, she's torn this family apart. I felt my jaw tighten, my pulse spike. They weren't just smearing me. They were trying to break me. Lauren's eyes searched mine. What do we do? I turned, calm but electric with resolve. We don't play defense. We finish this. By noon, I was back in front of reporters, but this time I wasn't just holding a contract. I was holding a weapon, a file of financial records, each page more damning than the last. I stepped to the podium, my voice steady. Since my family has chosen to bring this fight to the public, let's put everything on the table. The cameras zoomed in as I lifted the file. 2 years ago, when I rescued my father's finances, I didn't just acquire controlling interest. I also secured documentation of his debts, transactions, and signatures. These records show a history of reckless investments and mismanagement. Records my family hoped would stay buried, gasps spread through the crowd. I let the silence linger before continuing. They claim I manipulated them. But tell me, who was truly manipulating whom? Who tried to use my success as a lifeline for their failures? Reporters shouted questions, but I pressed on, sharp and unrelenting. My father taught me one lesson: always come prepared. And today I am. I set the folder down with a finality that echoed louder than any gavel. The press conference erupted. I didn't need to say more. The truth had already detonated. That night, my phone rang again. It wasn't Vanessa this time. It was Charles. His voice was hollow, stripped of thunder. "You've destroyed me," he whispered. "Your own father." I closed my eyes, the weight heavy but necessary. "No, Dad, you destroyed yourself. I just stopped cleaning up the pieces." He didn't respond. The line clicked dead. The fallout came fast. By morning, the headlines had flipped. Henderson patriarch exposed for financial mismanagement. Elaine's crocodile tears were mocked across every outlet. Vanessa's reputation collapsed overnight. Endorsements she flaunted on social media vanished. Meanwhile, investors poured into my office, shaking my hand, telling me I'd proven myself. Not just as a businesswoman, but as someone unbreakable. For the first time, I didn't feel like the girl trying to earn her family's approval. I felt like Brooke Henderson, the woman who had taken every betrayal, every manipulation, and turned it into firepower. 2 weeks later, I stood outside my parents' estate. The once perfect lawn was overgrown, the windows dark. For years, this house had been my prison. Every family dinner a performance, every smile a mask. Now it was just another piece of their downfall. Vanessa stepped out as I was leaving, her eyes red, her voice weak. "Was it worth it, Brooke? Destroying us?" I looked at her, my chest tight. For a moment, I almost softened. Almost. But then I remembered the contract slid across that dinner table, the smug look in her eyes, the smirk on Elaine's lips. "Yes," I said simply, "because you tried to destroy me first." She flinched as if I'd struck her, but I didn't linger. I turned, climbed into my car, and drove away. Back in my office that evening, I stood at the window, city lights glittering like stars. Lauren joined me quietly, her presence steady. "You did it," she said softly. "They can't touch you now." I nodded, my throat tight but my spirit unbroken. I didn't just do it for me. I did it to prove something. That no matter how hard they try to bury me, I'll rise higher. Always. The reflection in the glass showed not the obedient daughter they once controlled, but the woman who had claimed her place and would never give it back. The war was over. And I had won.